Good evening and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody this evening? I hope you are well. I hope you've had a great weekend. What have you been up to? Have you painted any miniatures up? Have you been playing any games? Do share with the rest of the chat. So tonight is the final episode of Pascal Rosa's painting workshop of the Dwarf Queen from Atlantis Miniatures, who have very kindly been our sponsor for the past several weeks, along with the Army Painter. So tonight, Pascal will be painting up the throne for the Dwarf Queen. She's obviously got to have something to sit upon. Yes, we're going to learn how to paint realistic wood, and hopefully maybe some other little things we'll see. But we'll get Pascal on and take it from there. So, Pascal, welcome to the stream.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here again.
And how's your weekend been?
It's been awesome. I've been attending the Scale Model Challenge in the Netherlands here. Probably the best show to go to here in the Netherlands and Belgium, Germany, somewhat like that. And it was impressive and awesome and great, really.
Right, so a fun-packed weekend for you. So you definitely have painted miniatures and seen miniatures this weekend then.
Yeah, I was really invigorated in trying to do some new stuff and get some new inspiration. So I'm eager to get going now.
Okay, so what is the plan for this evening?
So instead of trying to finish the Queen online and not being able to do anything online on the throne, I tried to switch it up. So I'm going to do the throne tonight, which is this one, which has got a lot of wood, some intricate markings there, and little pieces of metal. So I'm going to try to get a good start on that, and I'm going to try to show you how to do some wood effects, which are actually pretty easy. Especially in this case where the throne should be cool but doesn't have to take away all the attention from the queen. So I've got some paints laid out here and my brushes are ready to go. So let's have a look at the throne. So there's a lot of wood in here. Actually everything is wood. I'm gonna put my own glasses on, except for these parts here on top, which I guess are just some metal, I don't know what you call it, studs.
Yeah, but bolts, aren't they, I guess?
Yeah, the bolts on here, but the entire block here is like encasing to keep the wood together. I don't know. And just some small bolts here and there. Now you got these intricate carvings, which I could do in two ways. Either have it, no, I could do it even in three ways. First off, do it in a metal, but I think that's just off. Then I could do it as a wood carving and then paint it up. But in this case, I think it would be cooler to have it just being a clean wood carving, where you can see the darker outer side of the wood here, and then while you're carving it, you're exposing a brighter type of wood underneath, which is making contrast effect.
Ah, that does sound really nice.
So when inspecting the model, and this is actually why I somewhat like it, often when you see wood grains sculpted on a model, they're way too deep. And in this part, and I'm seeing it on camera even better than I'm seeing it with my own eyes, the grains is sculpted in there, but it's very light. So if you want to paint it a little bit different, or you want to paint your own grains in there, it's possible, but you can also follow these lines. And if it's way too deep, then it's not only restricting your own painting of the grains, but often it's not realistic enough. I'm going to start off with a pretty dark brown. This is chocolate brown from Vallejo, and I'm not going to use it like this. The thing is, when people try to paint wood or wood-like effects, they tend to use somewhat too warm colors. Let me show you something like this. This is Beasley brown. A lot of people would like to use this as a base for wood, which is far too warm when it's wood that it's been worked on and being used as furniture. So I'm gonna get. I want to try to get that flame, that fire out of it, that warmth, and an easy way to do that is just by adding some gray. I'll start off with a nice base coat color. With a nice base coat, I should say. But I'll already will take into mind that I'm going to bring a lot of light up here, and there's going to be a lot of darkness in there and on the seat as well. She's going to be sitting on there, so you're not going to see anything about it. But still, I've got to paint it. So I'm going to bring the shadows in that corner and make the lights over there. But that's something I'm going to do in the end.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, different types of wood, different sort of, whether it's been treated wood, whether it's been wood that's been fashioned into a weapon, or as in this case, a piece of furniture, whether it's natural wood. There are many, many different techniques to doing one simple material.
And especially with wood, there is no wrong color of brown to use for wood. I could do a mahogany type of wood in this fashion, which is much warmer than I'm using now. But I'm thinking about my scene, so I just want it to be much more mute. But I could still do a different color, and that's no problem. Every color of brown you can use as a wood, but you've always got to think about what type of ambience do you want to set down, you know? I've done like wood elves with wooden bows, and I always like my wood elves with these like very bright what kind of wood is that? These almost something like this, you know?
Right, sort of beige sort of colours.
Right. You're seeing that I'm trying to paint with the grain. So if I'm going to do this, then it's going to look awkward as well. In this part, the grain is going this way. I'm leaving the carvings for now, because I'm not sure yet if I want to start off with this base color, or if I want to do that later on. If I want to start with a brighter color and then darken it up as I want to. So there we go. Now I've got to let this dry. See you in a moment. In the meantime, create tones for these markings. And I'll take something lighter, and I'm trying to create like snakebite leather. That's a color I really love, and I don't have it anymore. So this is the Beasley brown I got. Then I added some off-white, and then I'm gonna get, and that's really a nice color. It's rich, it's warm, maybe a bit too warm. That's okay, so I can always add a bit more white. And this is just about perfect. Look at that.
That's very nice.
Could just paint it in. It's such a fine, intricate detail. Got to make sure it's nicely thinned paint.
This Thursday we will be getting the Atlantis Miniatures giveaway started. So if you have been enjoying watching Pascal painting up the Dwarf Queen and of course the throne this evening, you will have the chance to win your very own Dwarf King, so that you can hopefully take these lessons and apply it yourself to your very own throne. So do join us on Thursday evening from 7 o'clock, and we'll be giving the giveaway command during the course of that stream.
I'm already loving the detail on that on those carvings. And you know, this is always a fun part when you're doing base coats. You always got to discover what the miniature is actually looking like. You know, you can do your base coat or your primer. You can do your cleaning up. All those stages can make you have a good look at your model, but at this stage, just when you're putting the brush to it, then you're really seeing where the details are, if there are any details, how they're going to work, how they're going to interact with your paints. And this is really discovering your model. In this case, these markings, these are, oh wow, such much detail in there. Really awesome. I really like to do highlights first in this when doing wood, because for shading I'm going to use something special later on, but that's going to get some real oomph into the wood, into the color of the wood. But I've got to do that after the highlights. So great. Now I've got to think about where's the light coming from, and some areas I can already just plain paint over all the work I've just done. Like the top of these armrests are gonna be bathing in light, so why don't I just, there we go. That's really stark, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This is the fun part about mathematical shapes, like a cube. There can be a big contrast about the color here, color in there, color over there, etc. Okay, so I've done the extreme highlights where I need them to be, and I know those areas are going to be very bright later on, so that's why I'm just painting it all over with a bit thicker paint. Now I'm going to add some more water to it, so I'm going to get a bit more glazing, and then I'm going to take the edges that I'm seeing right now, like this, and I'm going to try to highlight it like that. Now for the dramatics, I'm going to make this side lighter than this side, and you'll be able to see it later on in the when it's fit in the diorama, why that is. It has something to do with the light and the focus being up here, and so that this is darker, then there's more focus in there.
So again, you're thinking of your spheres even though it's all cubes.
Yeah, exactly. Even cubes are spheres. I'm not gonna do the highlights that I'm doing here. You saw that I'm trying to do some line work as if it is grain, but down here it's going to be much darker. So the only highlights I'm going to do is between the panels on one side. If you got the groove between the panel, then the one side I'm going to put a shade on, and the other side I'm going to put the highlight on, which is here. You can see that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So it's going to be there as well. And probably you'll never see this because her feet will be in the way. And the same trick I should also do here. Now there's a big groove in here. That's the one I like. I'm going to put some extra highlight there. Maybe some here. I like these grooves. This is the trick actually about getting some grain in there, is to highlight the grooves. Now I might not do a lot of highlighting on the sides, but I still want to do the highlighting on these grooves, because you're much more able to see them. You can see the the sculpting grain here, but a bit better than on the other side. Seeing these, I don't know what the English word is for this.
I think we call them knots.
Right. So I can see them much better here. Again, it's just highlighting the edges of those things. Yeah. So these parts on top are going to get the brunt of the light that's coming on top. And yes, there's still going to be a lot of light on these armrests, but I'm already going to diffuse a bit of light here in contrast to the light that's going to be up there. This part, so I can just paint again. Oh God, that's really bright. Yep.
Wow, it really is bright.
Look at it like this. And maybe if it's too bright, I can always dull it down. This part, I'm going to start off bright in the middle, just with stripes to get that grain effect still in there. I'm going to work out to the sides just a bit less. I'm going to get me another brush in there just to feather it out a bit. I'm going to do it to the other side as well. Okay. Do a second pass just for blending purposes. So I'm trying to do a center of brighter color here, fanning out to the sides, give that extra depth of this is the focal point. You know, that's why I'm doing this. Okay, let me show you the two-brush blending technique in its full. So at the moment, I have a brush in between my teeth, and that's for a reason. Because when I'm gonna pull it out, I'm gonna pull it through my mouth, so I'm wetting it instantly. I'm gonna put in some paint here. This is way too wet paint. Put some paint here. Wet the area in front of it, and I'm gonna pull it out. There we go.
Ah, that's good.
Maybe you've been noticing that I'm also doing some what people like to call edge lining. I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to put it on in an angle along an edge, like this. And sometimes people say, you got to do edge lining, and then I'm going to do it all around. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing it specifically only on the top, because that's where the light's coming from. And ideally, I try to not do this in a symmetrical way. So, for instance, trying to do a more a light spot on this side, so it's leaning towards one side, which makes it always more interesting. I've turned to well, almost as wide as I can get with the scale 75 wide, and I'm doing final highlights. Should be like tips and dots and single line here and there. I'm gonna break out the secret stuff. Okay, this is Armor Brown. It's a Model Air from Vallejo. And it's a really rich but also thin brown because it's from the Air range for airbrush, obviously, which makes it ideal to create a sort of glaze for it. So the first passes are going to be about bringing back the warmth. It's going to be so thin, you're hardly going to see anything. This has nothing to do with putting in shades in there. It's just getting some color. I could do some greens. This is also cool for wood effects. To add some green shades in there.
Right.
Really, really thin. But I know that there's already a lot of green touching the seat, you know, from the cloth she's wearing. So that would not do very good.
So this is it, guys. Ask all your wood-related questions. Now's your chance.
There we go. I like that color a bit more. Now I'm going to do some shading, and to do that I'm going to add some black into this mix. The thing is, I'm actually enjoying painting this up a lot more than I anticipated. I was thinking beforehand about this, and then I thought, well, it's going to be a lot of browns, and it's boring. But actually, it's really starting to enjoy myself. I was painting this side just now, and usually I don't paint in shades from overhanging stuff, you know, like the armchair is hanging over this edge, so there should be a bit more shading over here than there. Usually I don't do that, but in this case I think it could be very interesting to make it a bit darker up there.
It's great to see how it's all coming together and.
Right. Okay. Finishing touches. 3 steps. First of all, black and white. Pure black. To make it really readable, I'm gonna put some black lines on strategic places. What I also can do at this stage, which is good, is painting in those studs. There we go. And I'm gonna paint a single grain here and there, where I think it could really do with some extra shading. This is actually, again, just to have all those components be detached from each other. Or else it would be one great blur of brown.
Again, you know, putting all this black lining in just instantly makes it pop. To some degree, it also has a bit of a sort of comic book sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
Which I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I really like it.
I know what you mean. That's exactly the effect I'm trying to create. And this works because the scale's this small. Yep. So let's do it with the white again. This time I'm gonna get some ordinary white from Vallejo. That white it is. This is gonna make my white a bit more white than the scale 75 white. Dot, 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 dot. I love doing
Exclamation, ...
There you go.
You'll have your own command eventually, don't worry.
There you go.
That's brilliant.
I think that's about it for that color. Damn, I'm liking it myself. These are going to be metal later on, but this is why I'm making them black for now. I'm already in my head. I'm already on the next part of the model. So while my fingers are painting this black, I'm already starting to think about how I'm going to do this. And I'm thinking about doing a lazy technique, seeing how that works out. And if it needs more work, I can always do more work in that. If it's immediately, sometimes you got lucky, you know. It's gonna work out immediately. I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna do it with the wash I just used, which is like one of the darker shades that I use. I'm gonna thin it down really thick, but really thin. Okay. I'm gonna try to use like a wash, actually a thin down paint. I'm gonna use it. Look at that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Gotta help it here and there.
Yeah.
This is the thing, you know. The moment you put on something like this, like a wash or a thin down paint, the moment you put it on, it's gonna look real cool. Wow, you see this effect going on, the details coming out. Wow, this is fantastic. But look at this side. It's all muddy and dull and gray, and that's what I know is gonna be happening. And this is why I know there's still gonna be a lot of work done. The thing is that because I'm using tones that I've already used in the other parts of the throne, especially the wash, it's looking like something that is still part of that same wood, you know.
Yes.
Like this is one pole where this is being carved out of, and it's not looking like two separate pieces of wood. This is one tree, this is another type of tree. It's still looking like it's family of themselves. So I've got to look at a pattern. It's like a knot type thing, but they're carved in. So it's not laying on top, but it's carved in. So I've got to make sure that I highlight the right pieces. I'm gonna use this bit as a test part before I start painting the other bits. What happens if I add more white? Get an even brighter highlight. There we go.
That's looking great.
See how that looks on screen. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's the trick. I'm trying to focus in this side piece, trying to focus the lightest parts on that side, and having it darker on this side, just to make the effect of having it darker towards the back even more visible. And this is cool because now I'm on the back side. I'm probably not gonna need to do a lot of the white highlights. This is probably what I would do the white highlights first. I would do now with this color only. So that's one side.
That's looking so good.
I'm gonna enhance the lower part a bit by adding some darker shades. There we go. I'm gonna do the other side on in my own time. Just want to show you how I would approach the metal part. The studs aren't that interesting, but the bigger part might be. So I'm gonna take some of my like this. This is pig iron from P3, which is a really dark metal. Try to get as dark as possible for this. Also, I could spend all day painting this metal, but again, it's not a really important piece of the whole thing. So I'm not gonna be too fuzzy about it, but still want to have it look good. Get a good black and make it into a glaze, really thin glaze. And I'm gonna apply it as a glaze. Here we go. Camera.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. And I'm gonna think, where do I want my shades? Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of light in here. And well, if you're gonna think about it the right way, metals are gonna reflect light in like an upside down way. But instead of putting the shades down, I'm going to put the shades up. And the thing is with metals, we're going to do this black, really thin down glaze. There we go. The first passes, you hardly see anything really happen. That's okay. I'm going to do a lot of passes. In the end, where the shade is the deepest, the darkest, there I want to see just plain black. I just do not want to see any metal at all. And which is true in real life, because take a look at any metal object you're going to see, and you'll see that there's just pure black in there. It's not metallic black, it's pure black. And because I'm using it as a glaze, I get to keep control, which you do not have with a wash. And as you can see, I'm doing a limited amount of shading here, a bit more on this side, a lot of it on this side. I'm trying to do it in a diagonal shape, right? So this is the darkest point, this is the lightest point, and this is the darkest point, this is the lightest point. And if you think the layers are too stark, well, there's a lot of lines here. I'm gonna go back to my metals, make that into a glaze, and glaze a bit back. Smoothing it out. But there's a bit of shading in there.
That's looking really, really cool.
But it's not cool enough, because I want it to be like a bit of weathered, rusty, it's seen some ages type of metal. So I'm gonna get my sanguine base color again. I love that color always. Gonna make that into a glaze. But this is my shaded area, so I'm gonna start a bit higher, or in this case lower, and glaze it in towards the shades. First passes will hardly see anything, but slightly. It's going to get a bit of a reddish tint to it. Going to make it much more alive. Then, as a final touch, going to get as bright as silver as I can. This is silver from Model Air, really bright silver. I'm going to use this color just to get some highlights on, because still this metal still blinks. And there you go.
Yeah, looks great.
There, I try to do this. Let's have a look.
Yep. Whoa. Oh, she's in the chair. She's in the chair. Wow, that's looking great. And there we go. So, huge thanks to Pascal for the workshop this evening. That was thoroughly enjoyable. Really fascinating how he brought that throne to life with so many techniques that obviously I'm going to have to go off and practice myself on now. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening or the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow evening. But until then, bye-bye for now.